Good evening to all of you. I believe knowledge about the self is the beginning of all the wisdom. I grew up in a lower middle class family setup where life goals used to be just around the survival. And then, with respect to time, I evolved to a stage where, as on date, as we speak, I dream of building world's largest agri-tech enterprise. Few years ago, when I looked at my own life, its experiences, its achievements, I found it incredible and very, very powerful. For me, it was so hard to believe that was it I who did it all? I do get inspired from many people. Few of them are great sportsmen, few of them are great leaders. But then the other day I realized nothing can be more powerful, more inspirational than our own stories. It's all about getting back to that. It's all about looking back to your own life, your experiences, drawing out the learnings in form of relearn and unlearn. In other way, it's all about the re-story of your own story. And today, when we are talking about re-story, I have brought 3 stories of my own life. So here we go. So the first one is 2010. When I was into consulting, I used to consult for food companies. And that's how I got exposed to the food sector of India. And that was the time I made up my mind to start my entrepreneurial career in agriculture. So I built my own thesis. And the thesis was around a large TAM. Why? Because agriculture contributes 15% of India's GDP, which is more than $500 billion. So that's how the thesis was built. I met my co-founders and we resigned and we went back to Bihar back in 2010. And the idea was very simple. The idea was to aggregate the agricultural produce, eliminate the intermediaries, and to sell to the food companies as a great business model. But the day when we reached to the ground, we got exposed to the different world altogether. Why? Because same crop is being grown in a same village by 10 different farmers in a 10 different way. How you would aggregate. So we started encouraging farmers to synchronize their agricultural practices as per the market demand. Needless to say, many farmers found it too risky. But thankfully, we found few of the early adopters. They agreed to follow what we were pitching about. And there were only 13, 14 farmers. Anyways, the work started, the pilot started. We told those farmers which crop to go, which variety to grow. We gave them quality seeds. We also gave them access to advisory. And the result was in front of all of us. A lovely crop standing in the field. And the farmers were excited. At the same time, the entire society and all the other farmers who were not involved in the pilot, they were on the fence, on the surface, just to see what's going to happen. One fine day, when harvesting was just about to happen, I received a call from a farmer. And when I got to know that there was an untimely rain, and he lost the crop. I immediately ran to the field. I met the farmer. I was there in the field when the crop was no more. I had tears in my eyes. I had no words what to say. And can you believe, instead of me telling anything to the farmer himself talking to me in form of a console. And he started saying, sir, you did a great effort. The work was amazing. The crop was absolutely fine. If this wouldn't have happened, I think probably we would have made a good amount of money. Thankfully, at the same time, there were a few farmers where there was no impact of the climate. And they experienced almost double profit what they used to make earlier. And that's how basically we completed the first pilot. That gave a different perspective altogether. There were many farmers who found it risky. There were few farmers who lost the crop. And still, they were extremely positive about the next season. And they were appreciating the effort. And rather, in fact, they used to say that this is the harsh reality. That's the way how they have been living their life and the agriculture since ages. That gave us a different perspective. And the perspective was not just around the large TAM of multi-billion-dollar market, but it was all about millions of Indian farmers who have been into farming, who have been feeding the nation, yet starving. And that's how the Dehat working model was conceptualized, which was all around the farmer, which was not just about the aggregation at the end of the season, but it was all about giving them complete end-to-end support right from the beginning of the season, right from the cropping stage. And that's how the seeds to market model was conceptualized, which evolved as a full stack model. Today, after 14 years, I feel that full stack model and the approach and the overall ideology, that really helped Dehat to reach where we are today, when our annual business is more than $500 million. Every year, we are growing by 30 to 40%. And more importantly, we see ourselves doing more than $2 billion annual business in just next to 3-4 years. So that was the first story, guys. The second one is 2017. So by this time, the seed to market, the full stack model, it was proven. We had reached to a farmer's base of 5,000. I was in the US, and I was just trying to meet few of the investors and few of the veteran entrepreneurs just to pitch the idea of Dehat. Somebody asked me, what's your vision? I told them that at Dehat, we want to work with 100,000 farmers. And the guy gave me a sarcastic response. He said, hey, how many farmers you have in India? I said, more than 100 millions. And he said that you want to work with just 100,000 farmers. I replied, we are bootstrapped. We don't have capital. We don't have resources. He said that, hey, that's the problem. You are thinking about just 100,000 farmers. That's why basically you don't have resources, you don't have capital. That gave us a fresh and a different perspective. After that, the narrative was redefined. We started thinking about bigger, because vision, it's nothing wrong with the vision that you don't have resources, right? It has to be sizable enough, rest everything is the byproduct. And that's how basically again we redefined the narratives, we got the fresh perspective, we started thinking about bigger, that how as Dehat, with our model, we can reach to every single individual Indian farmer. And that's how in 2019, we raised our first institutional round of 4 million. Imagine an enterprise which had not raised more than 150,000 US dollar in its first year of inception, managed to raise $220 million in just 3 years. More importantly, in 2021, we crossed the milestone of 1 million farmer. This January 2025, we crossed the milestone of 10 million farmer, and I won't be surprised if we cross this 25 million farmer milestone in just next 3 to 4 years, guys. Now, the third story. This is not too old. Just the last year, when I was on a trek to the Everest base camp. This used to be a big bucket item, big like to-do list for me. There were many failed attempts earlier, but finally it was happening last year. And as few of you might be aware that it's a 13-14 days long trek. When you start hiking from the altitude of almost 1,000 meter, and then you go up to almost 6,000 meter. Every day you walk for at least 8 to 10 hours, and the total distance you cover in span of 13-40 days is more than 150 kilometers. So as a group, every day we used to walk, we used to hike, we used to trek, and then in the evening basically we used to come and we used to live with the local people in their own lifestyle. It was day 8. We were at the altitude of almost 5,000 meter, and then obviously we were living with the local people. A guy in late 20s basically came, and he served rice and lentil when we were having our dinner. Later I got to know that that guy reached to the summit of Mount Everest, not the base camp, summit of the Mount Everest 5 times in his life. And I was like, I was simply amazed, like the guy from his body language, when when number of people were so excited to go to the base camp, somebody who had reached to the summit 5 times, he was so simple, so modest. Whole night I kept thinking about this, and then next morning I went to the kitchen. I had to ask the guy, hey, so how was the experience? And if person like me, if I have to go to the summit, what do I have to do? The answer was, sir, you need to earn a lot of money. I said, sorry? You have to succeed, you have to earn a lot of money. And I felt that as a human being, often we put our own individual successes very, very ahead, very, very above than others. And for him, it was so simple to put his gigantic achievement so tiny in front of other people whom he was seeing reaching to the summit. That gave me a different perspective, just to put your individual success below than the others people. And it helped me to ensure right people around me in form of right partner, my friends, my mentors, or my team members. And that's how basically again Dehat team building is being done in an amazing manner. So I can go on and on with ample of such stories. But what I feel that in our own life, there are a number of such stories we can look back. And we can draw number of learnings from our own stories, provided we go deeper, we zoom out, we zoom in, we draw some learnings, and basically based on that, we get a fresh perspectives for the future. So life is all about perspectives, provided we put some effort, we get back to its past, and we draw some learning. And that's why I keep saying that knowledge about the self is the beginning of all the wisdom, guys. Thank you.